Welcome to the big debate. Let's get started.
Welcome to the big debate. Today, two contestants believe they are both right, but only one of them can convince the judge. Believe it or not, this is exactly what happens every time you write an argumentative essay.
Should school uniforms be compulsory?
Yes.
No.
Which side do you support? Don't answer yet. Listen carefully to both arguments.
Uniforms promote discipline.
Uniforms limit creativity.
Interesting. Both have opinions, but opinions alone don't win debates. An argument should have an opinion, reason, evidence, and it should persuade. The winner isn't the loudest person, the winner is the most convincing. Every debate needs someone to decide the winner.
I don't reward shouting. I reward facts, logic, evidence, organization.
Sound familiar? That's exactly what every examiner does. We've listened to both sides of the debate. Now, let's do something that many students never get to see. Let's turn one simple idea into a paragraph that can earn marks in an argumentative essay. We're going to build this paragraph one sentence at a time. School uniforms should be compulsory. Is this a paragraph? Only an opinion. This tells the examiner what I believe, but it doesn't tell them why they should believe me. Note, this is an opinion, it only tells us your position. School uniforms should be compulsory because they promote discipline in schools. Now we're making progress. Notice that one powerful word, because. Whenever you explain why, your argument becomes stronger. But can we make this even stronger? Students spend less time competing over expensive clothes and more time concentrating on learning. Excellent! That's evidence supporting our reason. Do you notice something? We're not saying uniforms are good. Rather, we're explaining why. Can we convince the examiner even more? For example, many schools require uniforms to promote equality among learners from different economic backgrounds. Examples make your argument believable. They help the examiner picture your point. One final step. As a result, compulsory school uniforms help create a more disciplined and focused learning environment. This last sentence is referred to as our clincher sentence. It summarizes whatever we've talked about and gets us back to the main point. The following are steps that show how argumentative paragraphs are formed. We have an opinion, which is our topic sentence. Then we have reasons, we have evidence, illustrations, and examples. Finally, a clincher sentence. Now, as we can see, an opinion is shown in the orange, reasons are shown in the blue, evidence in the green, examples in the orange and purple in the clincher. Notice how every sentence has a job to do. We begin by stating our opinion, support it with a reason, strengthen it with evidence, make it believable through an example, and finish with a clincher sentence that leaves the examiner convinced. You can pause the video and read through our well developed paragraph, noticing the colored parts. Let's try it out ourselves. Something is missing here. Can you tell me which sentence should go here? Exactly. Strong writers don't just make claims, they support them with examples. For example, many schools require uniforms to promote equality among learners from different economic backgrounds. Congratulations! You've just built one body paragraph. But one paragraph isn't an essay. Let's see where this paragraph belongs. We've only completed one part of the essay. The following is our essay blueprint. It has an introduction, about three body paragraphs, and a conclusion. And now we have just finished our first body paragraph. Think of an essay like building a house. Every strong house starts with a solid foundation, our introduction. Next, we have comes the first room, which is our body paragraph 1. But one room doesn't make a house. Then we have another body paragraph and another one. Finally, we have the roof that slides down, which becomes our conclusion. The conclusion ties everything together, and our house is now complete. Having gone through how our body paragraph should look like, let's take a quick dive into how an introduction should be. An introduction in an argumentative essay should not sound emotional or biased from the very first sentence. Instead, it should introduce the issue fairly, then state your stand. Step 1. Introduce the issue objectively. The question of whether school uniforms should be compulsory has been debated in many schools and communities. Notice that we haven't taken sides yet. Step 2. Show that different opinions exist. Some people argue that uniforms promote discipline and equality, while others believe they limit students' freedom of expression. Again, this is still objective. Step 3. State your position. Despite these differing opinions, I believe school uniforms should remain compulsory because they encourage discipline and create a sense of unity among learners. Now, your position is clear. Remember, a strong argumentative introduction doesn't begin by attacking one side or praising the other. Remember to introduce the issue as shown in the words in orange, then acknowledge both sides as shown in the words with blue. Then state your position. Take a moment to pause the video to look at our completed sample introduction. Whenever you're stuck writing an introduction, remember IDS. Introduce the issue, mention the different viewpoints, then state your position. Notice we have now known how to write an introduction and how to build a winning body paragraph. But do we know how to complete our essay? Let's dive into writing a winning conclusion. First, remind your reader where you stand. Notice that I'm not changing my position, I'm bringing the reader back to my main argument. Next, briefly remind the reader of your strongest reasons: discipline, equality, focus on learning. These we got from our previous body paragraphs. Don't rewrite every paragraph. Select the main ideas and bring them together. So here we are summarizing the main arguments. And now comes the part that can make your conclusion memorable. Take a minute to read through it. Remember, this is your final judgment. A good lawyer doesn't finish a closing argument by saying, "That's all." They leave the judge with something to remember. Finish with a sentence that leaves your reader convinced. A winning conclusion doesn't need to be complicated. Remind me where you stand. Remind me why. Give me your final judgment and leave me with one strong final thought. The four steps in building our conclusion are highlighted in color. Also, a good student can also finish their conclusion in 2 to 4 well-developed sentences. So this is again a sample that we can use. And here's a rule you should remember. If you didn't discuss it in the body, don't suddenly introduce it in the conclusion. Your conclusion should close the argument, not open another one. You've built it. Isn't it satisfying? Now, let's see if you can avoid losing marks. So, now you know how to build your argument. But knowing the structure isn't enough. You can still lose marks if your argument isn't convincing. Let's find out what can weaken an argumentative essay. A student writes, "I just feel that school uniforms are good because I like wearing them." That's a feeling, not a convincing argument. Something stronger. School uniforms should remain compulsory because they promote equality among learners. In an argumentative essay, don't just tell me what you feel, give me a reason. A student writes, "Everyone knows that uniforms are the best." Everyone? Really? Who is everyone? Avoid sweeping statements. Support your argument with reasons, examples, or evidence. Don't simply make a claim. Give the reader something to think about. A student writes, "Students who don't wear uniforms will never behave properly." That's too extreme. We can write, "Uniforms can contribute to a more orderly school environment." A strong argument, doesn't need exaggeration. Be reasonable.
But uniforms can limit students' freedom of expression.
Should we simply ignore that argument? A strong argumentative writer can acknowledge a valid opposing point and explain why it doesn't change their position. For example, although uniforms may limit some forms of personal expression, their benefits in promoting equality and discipline make them worthwhile. Remember, argumentative writing isn't about shouting the loudest, it's about making the strongest case. You've seen what weak arguments look like. Now, let's see if you can spot a strong one. Which is the strongest? Which one do you think will earn your argument a place in an essay? C is correct. It gives a clear position and a logical reason. Next, can you make this argument stronger? Uniforms are good because they make students behave. B is correct. Notice what changed. We replaced a vague claim with a specific reason. Next, we go to our third question. Which is the strongest ending? C is correct. Exactly. Your conclusion should close the argument, not simply stop the essay. What makes a strong argument? Looking at the steps above, if you can do these 5 things, you're no longer simply giving your opinion, you're building an argument. Remember, introduce your issue, take a clear position, build strong paragraphs, consider the other side, and finish with a convincing conclusion. Don't just write what you think. Show your reader why your position makes sense.